Hello, I am Tricia Morris from Club Scrap. This is the Lotus Card Kit Workshop. I'm looking forward to making some beautiful cards along with you. I hope you've got your Lotus kit ready. I've got mine. I also have my instructions downloaded and printed, and I'm going to be taking all of the goodies that came in this kit. I'll set them aside for now and just isolate only the paper, and that includes the text weight paper that we've added to the kit this month. And I always like to start out by sorting the paper in the order we're going to be trimming it and scoring it and so on. So let's just grab that paper in the crook of our arm and get it sorted. The first piece I want you to find is one sheet of that beautiful purple. I love the weight of this paper. And then one sheet of the yellow, one sheet of pink, and one sheet of aqua. Let's repeat those colors again. So purple, yellow, pink, and aqua. Then you're going to find the two prints. So that's what these look like. You're going to place them both face down on your trimmer. Oh, and then if you could, just find that crinkle paper. Maybe you had that with you. Grab the crinkle paper. We're gonna have to trim that as well. Next up, find the Cutapart that has just all larger images on it, and place that face down on your trimmer base. And then the other Cutapart has those small purple sentiments. Put that face down. And we'll end with our aqua text weight paper, the very, very end. So that's our stack, that's our approach. We're gonna flip everything back over to that purple where we started. And I'm gonna set these items to the left of my trimmer. This is my favorite trimmer in the world. I use this copiously every day. And it has a nice self-sharpening guillotine blade. If you don't have something like this, it just may slow you down a little bit. And speaking of slowing down, you can always do that by choosing your settings on YouTube, and then go to playback speed and change me to 0.75. That will really slow things down if you're just getting started. I also have my accordion pocket file, and this has a lip on the front that I slide underneath the base of my trimmer. And we're gonna be filing all of the pieces for our cards into these pockets. So card set A will go into pocket A, and so on. If you don't have this accordion pocket file, don't fret, just maintain 3 piles. The only thing you'll need more of is space, which sometimes is lacking when we're crafting, right? You can never have too much space. All right, I'm gonna go to page 1 of my instructions now again, and let's get trimming. So the first thing we need to do is find our grain direction of this paper, because we will be folding it down the way. So to determine with this heavy purple, just push in on it. And one way is gonna give you less resistance than the other. So this pushes back, this cooperates. So I want to drop this paper into my trimmer so it bends from the top to the bottom. There you go. Then I'll take the yellow, because we're gonna trim these at the same time, I'm gonna do the same thing. So that definitely flops more easily in this direction than in this direction. So grain goes from top to bottom, and I'll stack those papers neatly together. And our first cut is kind of weird. It's at 11 3/4. It's a big number. So remember that the inch markings are beneath the centimeters. We want inches. 11 3/4 is 11 plus 3 of these handy 1/4 inch columns to the left. Make sure you go left. So 11, 11 1/4, 11 1/2, 11 3/4. Now I realize that's gonna take off a teeny tiny strip. That's what we want. Before you slice, make sure you push firmly on this clear bar, and then slide the paper down to 6 1/4. So 6 plus 1 column to the left. Now rotate the piece of paper that's in your trimmer right now and trim at 9. Take the 2 larger pieces you just created and set them aside to be scored. And then the piece that fell to the right of the blade, that goes in pocket B, bravo. Then pick up the next larger strip here, and we'll trim at 8 1/2. So that's 8 plus 2 columns to the left. Set aside the larger pieces to be scored. Those are going to become card bases. Pick up the smaller rectangle and trim at 4 3/4. And this is placed in pocket A. The remaining pieces aren't assigned to any particular card. So what I usually do is plop them all into pocket D for didn't use or for design possibilities. Depends on how you want to look at it. Then when all the cards are done, I just, if I haven't used them, I pitch them because the pieces are usually really quite small. Okay, we could do all that one more time. So for review, let's find our grain direction. Now you see when I hold it by this edge, see how stiff the paper is? When I hold it by this edge, do you see how floppy it is? I want the paper to go into the trimmer flopping easily from top to bottom, and same for the aqua. So 2 sheets together, starting again at 11 3/4. Make that teeny tiny strip, and then 6 1/4. So 6 plus 1 column to the left. Then rotate that 6 1/4 and trim at 9. Set these larger pieces aside to be scored, and then grab the rectangle that fell, that doesn't even need to be trimmed. We'll place it in pocket B, bravo. Then pick up that larger piece, cut at 8 1/2. Set this aside to be scored, and this rectangle we do trim at 4 3/4. And place this one in pocket A, alpha, and the remaining little pieces that fell can go in pocket D, David. Now we're moving on to a new formula. This one is in step 2 of your instructions if you want to take a look. And as a reminder, if you look at the diagram, you will always see an arrow if the grain direction of the paper matters. So that arrow is pointing top to bottom. That's how I want the paper to bend easily, top to bottom. So picking up the purple again, I can feel it more on this one. It's a heavier sheet of paper, but I can feel that it wants to go this way. Eventually the card will be folded in that direction. That's why we want to be aware of that before we trim the paper. Otherwise you're going to be folding against the grain, and nobody wants to do that. Okay, with the yellow, same thing. It wants to go this way. Now this has some fun twists and turns, so just bear with me as we trim this one. We'll take it one step at a time. Starting out at 7 inches, a nice whole number for you. Then rotate that 7 by 12 and just trim it at 11 1/2. So that's 11 plus 2 to the left. Reminder to always push down on the clear bar. If you haven't been doing that, do that. And set aside this large piece to be scored. Now this tiny piece, we're going to do something fun with this. We are going to trim it at 6 1/4. So when I'm trimming something this narrow, I like to just bring it up this far. So if you look at the screen right now, you can see here's my 6 1/4. I'm not bringing it up here at the top where I normally would keep my paper. I'm resting this just below the inch mark line, making sure it's level. Again, trim at 6 1/4 and place this piece in pocket B, bravo. There is a tiny little piece that you can dispose of, okay? Don't even save this, just throw it away. You can do it. All right, now we're gonna have some fun with this. Place it into the trimmer horizontally and trim at 6 3/4. Now don't move this piece that fell. Leave it right where it landed, okay? But rotate this one so it's now vertical. Let's cut at 4 1/4. 2 1/2, and then rotate the 2 1/2 so it's horizontal and trim at 5 1/2. Phew. Okay, take this piece that's in your trimmer base and put it in pocket A, alpha. There are 2 small rectangles that fell. We can put those in D. Then you have a strip about this wide and another one that's much skinnier. Both of these strip sets go in pocket C, Charlie. Now, the piece that just fell to the right of your trimmer, I want you to pick it up and rotate it. So it's technically going to be vertical. And the measurement you should see on your trimmer is 5. I want you to cut at 3 1/4. And place this piece in pocket C, Charlie. Then this little rectangle that fell from the end, we're going to trim it horizontally at 4. And place this larger piece in pocket A, alpha, and you have a little rectangle that fell from the end. You can put it in D if you'd like, otherwise it's a scrap. Now I know there were a lot of twists and turns, but that was the most efficient way to cut the paper, and that's how my brain is always trying to calculate what we do. We get to review that, my friends. I'm sure you're looking forward to it. Here we have the pink is going in with the dip going top to bottom, and same for the aqua. And once again, we have a nice cut at first, just a nice hole number 7. Rotate and trim at 11 1/2. and set aside this large piece to be scored. And then the two pieces that fell from the end, we're going to trim once again by bringing them a little lower, right below the inch marking, so we can see a straight line and find that 6 1/4 measurement. 6 1/4. Just takes a little tiny bit off the end, and we can file that in pocket B. The two little pieces that are left, we're not going to use those. All right, now we have some twists and turns. All right, so let's put this next strip in at 6 3/4. Let everything sit. Rotate this one so it's vertical. Cut at 4 1/4 and 2 1/2. Then rotate the 2 1/2. Cut at 5 1/2. Place this in pocket A, alpha. Two little rectangles are scraps for pocket D. The next two sets of strips go in pocket C, Charlie. And the next piece, as it's laying right now, rotate it one turn so it's now vertical. So when you insert it into your trimmer, you'll see the number 5. If you have it the wrong way, it'll read 5 1/4. That's what makes this so weird, is just, it's not quite square, but it's really close. All right, remember, this should be 5 right now. We'll cut at 3 1/4 and place this in pocket C. Then this small strip goes horizontally in and trim at 4. Pocket A on this larger piece and two tiny little scraps. That was the hardest part of this whole thing, I think, was that. So now that it's behind you, we can move on to something a little easier. We don't have to worry about the grain direction in this case. So let's take our print and trim it at 9 3/4. 6 1/2 and 3 1/4. Rotate the piece in your trimmer base so it's horizontal and cut at 11 1/4, 6 3/4. The piece in your trimmer goes in pocket C, Charlie. This smaller panel, A, alpha. And there's a little scrap that fell from the end. You can pop that in D if you like. The next two strips are the same exact size, or they should be. Put them back to back, so white side to white side. Stack them neatly. We're going to trim again at those same measurements, which are 11 1/4. Trim at the same time here, 11 1/4 and 6 3/4. And back to back just means the paper slides a little less easily. Okay, so take this, face it correctly again, and place the two longer panels in pocket C, and the nice shorter ones, flip them the right direction, place them in pocket A. And this piece and these two little ones that fell, I don't have an official assignment for them. So place them in D. I'm sure we can find a home for that larger print, maybe on the inside of a card to add a little something, something. Okay, now I'm moving on to page 2 of the instructions and the remaining print. Once again, we don't need to worry about our grain direction, and this paper could literally go any which way too. I don't know if you feel like it has a right side up or not, but it really doesn't matter. Okay, so our first cut on this one is 8 3/4, 5. Now rotate that 5-inch piece. Trim at 10 1/2. 6 3/4, and now rotate again. So this is vertical, so just come along with me, it's all right. Okay, first cut, 3 3/4, 2 1/2, 1 1/4. So I know that this falls underneath the bar here, which that's why I love this trimmer. I can find that 1 1/4 quite easily and hold it with my finger on the bar that protects the paper, my hands, everything. And now I've got a series of 4 equal sized strips for card set C, Charlie. This little piece that fell, this rectangle, that goes in pocket A, and this strip is a scrap that can go in D. This next piece, if you're wondering, it's 3 3/4 inches wide. I'm going to rotate it so it's horizontal and cut on numbers divisible by 3. Okay, so 3 times 3 is 9. 9. then 6, then 3. I hope if you're new here, you're understanding all the fun of how the math comes together. If you're really annoyed by how much I love math, then just trust me and follow along with the numbers and don't give it another thought. Okay, so all of these go in pocket B, bravo. Let's grab this last strip. We'll trim at 11 1/4 and 6 3/4. That number's been very popular, 6 3/4. We're gonna place this larger one in pocket C, Charlie, the smaller panel in A, Alpha, and then you have the little scrap that fell from the end. Oh, now we've arrived at our cute little crinkle paper. And I have this set up so that you trim it horizontally at 5 1/2. So horizontally means like the horizon, right? At 5 1/2. And 2 3/4. Now rotate the 2 3/4 inch piece. This paper doesn't quite land at the 5 1/2 inch mark that it's supposed to be. It's probably because it's in millimeters or centimeters. So I'm gonna have you just trim this at 5 1/2 and 2 3/4. That makes a nice perfect square. Take the other piece that's 2 3/4 by 5 1/2-ish. I'm gonna trim it at 5 1/2 and 2 3/4 to make 2 more squares. And then there's this other piece that fell. This narrow strip is a scrap. I'm gonna plop that in pocket D. The 4 pieces that are the same go in pocket A. Now we've arrived at our Cutaparts. There's a message to you, just you, the creator, on every edge of this paper that says, remove paper outside of cutting guides. The cutting guide is that little plus sign in each corner. Initially, the paper is a little bit too tall for me to see the edge of that stainless steel blade at both the top and the bottom of my trimmer. So when I make my first cut, I usually just cut shy of the line, and I'm gonna come back and clean that up later on. Now that I've made that cut, when I rotate the paper one turn, I can see the edge of my blade, and I can line it up more accurately with that cut line. I'll rotate again and trim off this edge. Now this time when I bring the paper around, I can look at the 12 on my left, and it's gonna line up nicely with the cutting guide on my right. And this last rotation, takes off that little hair, that little piece left over. Now I have a nice 12 by 12. In fact, can we do that on the other sheet too? Let's grab our other Cutaparts and go ahead and perform that same task of removing the paper on the edges. If it takes you a little longer, just go ahead and pause the video and get that work done so we can proceed with just finishing off our Cutaparts without having to do this step. And then you can grab all those little scraps and put them in the circular file. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the original, and we will place this in the trimmer with the word congratulations in the upper right-hand corner. Our first cut will be at 8 3/4. And then slide down to 5. And we'll go back to those numbers divisible by 3. So cut at 9. I rotated that piece, by the way. 9, 6, and 3. Gather up those 4 pieces that just fell and place them all in pocket C, Charlie. The next strip, place horizontally in. The happy birthday to you should be on your right. And we'll cut at 10 1/2, 9, 7 1/2, 6, and 3. Gather up the 2 larger pieces. Those go in pocket A. And the 4 smaller that are the same size, those also go in pocket A. Then we have 1 more strip to trim. Make sure the word love is on your right. We'll cut at 10, 7 1/2, 5, and 2 1/2. Gather all of these, 1, 2, 3, 4. The top 4, the larger ones, those go in pocket B. And the love is just an extra cut apart. It's just a lovely piece of art. You can keep it or not keep it. I'm going to throw it in pocket D since I didn't officially assign it to anything. Now this has already been prepped. We've removed the outer perimeter. Let's place this in the trimmer so that those purple sentiments are on the right. And let's cut at 9 and 5. Rotate horizontally, and these once again get trimmed on all those numbers divisible by 3. Let's go 9, 6, and 3. I do that a lot because I can trim this out of a 12 by 12 with absolutely no scraps. All 4 of these pieces, pocket C, Charlie. Next, we have these cute tags, and guess what? Same exact measurements, 9, 6, and 3. Look, Mom, no scraps. If you want, you can go ahead and clip those corners to turn this into a cute little tag, or you can do that step later, totally up to you. I'm gonna plop all of these tags into pocket B, bravo. And then we have our sentiments. Now I want to point out that all of these purple sentiments here are extras. So if you don't like the sentiment I have on one of these cards, swap it out with one of these. I think I have most of the bases covered. And our first cut's at 11 1/4, 10 1/2, 9 3/4, 9, 8 1/4, 7 1/2, then all the way down to 3 3/4. Grab these 2 pieces, the larger ones, those go in pocket A. And all of these little alternate sentiments, you can keep them and swap them out if you like, or set them aside for other cards. Totally your call. I'm going to temporarily grab my score pal. I'll just set it right on top of my trimmer. But I'm going to take this, probably can do both sheets at the same time. Let's go for it. We're going to place this vertically into our score pal and score at all the odd numbers, 1, 3, 5, and 7. So 1, 3. You can do it one sheet at a time if you want, but just remember it's text weight paper, and if you're used to scoring cardstock, you've got to have a lighter touch or you'll tear the paper when you score it. So again, that was all the odd numbers, 1, 3, 5, and 7. Now I want you to flip the paper over, bottom to top, or papers in this case. I'm doing both at the same time. And we're going to score at only the even numbers 2, 4, and 6. That's it, not 8, just 2, 4, and 6. I'm going to set my score pal aside. Now I want you to trim the paper vertically at 8. I'm going to perform what I really think is going to be a nice time-saving trick. One option would have been to trim the paper first and then accordion fold it, but I think, why do that if we can accordion fold it first and then trim it? It could save us a lot of time. So here's the deal. Take this piece of paper and you see the bump of the score line here. I'm going to fold in on that. So I'm burying the bump. Flip the paper over and you're going to see another bump. So I'm going to fold to bury that bump. And you know, I remember when I was in church, when I was a little girl, I would take the bulletin and I would fold it into a fan like this pretty much every time. So I'm basically just doing that, a fan fold. But those score lines, by flipping the paper each time, guided our fold directions and also helped us make a really nice, crisp, beautiful fold. Let's repeat that with the second sheet. Now I have to have a disclaimer here. All of this, you don't need to do any of this if you don't want to make that really cool Lotus pop-up. Okay, this is, let me show you. What we're prepping for is this magic right inside this card here. Do you see that? Isn't that fun? So we're getting a lot of this prep work done ahead of time. So the Lotus pop-up comes together so easily. You are absolutely going to love it. So again, just accordion folded that or fan folded. I'm gonna even take a bone folder and just solidify those folds. Make them nice and crisp. And since this is text weight paper, we can trim this into the sizes needed for that lotus flower. So pop this into your trimmer, one of these strips horizontally, and we'll cut at 8 1/4, 5 1/2, 2 3/4. And we get these cute little things. Now, the way I did this when I made all my samples was trimmed it and then I accordion folded it. See how much time we just saved? Genius. Okay, let's repeat that with the second sheet now. 8 1/4, 5 1/2, 2 3/4. All right, so I'll stack these up. And this all goes in pocket B. Done and done, ready to be transformed. It's going to be so great. I think that's the last cut. Now we just have a little scoring to do, and I will mention that we do have the 2 little strips that fell. Those are scraps. Okay, I'm just going to get rid of those and swap out my trimmer for a score pal. So the stack we ended with that has not yet been filed, we're going to tackle that from top to bottom. So I'm just going to take 1 sheet of that aqua paper, and we've got some magical scoring to do with this again too, to make what I would call a telescoping card. So we're going to be doing some scoring, then flip, and then scoring. Okay, so place it horizontally in that score pal. We'll start at 5 and then all the way down to 10 1/2. Now take the piece of paper and bring it from the bottom to the top and score it 8 1/2. Very weird measurements, I know. Okay, I'm gonna set that aside and repeat with this larger pink one. Again, it's 5, 10 1/2, then flip, 8 1/2. Set it aside, grab the yellow, 5, 10 1/2, flip bottom to top, 8 1/2. And just one more sheet in this heavyweight purple. So be mindful that you might need more pressure. 5, 10 1/2, flip, 8 1/2. Excellent. Now all of these cards will be placed in pocket C, Charlie. Next up, I have a smaller card base. It looks like if I place it horizontally into my score pal, it reads 8 1/2, and I can score that at 4 1/4. That's where that asterisk is if you happen to be using a score pal. Again, it's 4 1/4. Skip the next 2 cards because they're larger, and I'm going to find the other smaller ones. So again, confirm it reads 8 1/2, score it 4 1/4, and same for the last one, 4 1/4. And place all of these in pocket A. Lastly, we have the ones that will be 6 1/4 by 9. These are scored horizontally at 4 1/2. You can tell I got this new bone folder. I absolutely love it. And I figured out that the best way to use this is to kind of tilt it on its side to get that a really nice score line of the exact right width. If I do it direct, it's a little bit too narrow. So 4 1/2 again on all of these, and going into pocket B. Bravo. That's it, we're ready to make our cards. So I have 30 minutes of filming time that I can see total. That includes, I don't know, things I may have to edit out. So about 30 minutes, all that work done to make 12 cards. So again, we talked about being productive in our card making time. That is the ultimate level of productivity when you can get all that prep work done for a dozen cards in 30 minutes. I love it. Let's get ready for card set A. And that always begins with emptying the pocket labeled A. And there's a lot of stuff in there, my friends. That's okay. The first thing I usually like to do is just organize what's in there. So just as if you picked up, you're playing 52 card pickup with your big brother, then he just fanned the cards all onto the floor and said, okay, pick them up. That was really mean. And we do have a card bases here. I think we'll just take a second and fold them. So watch for the bump of the score line. Make sure that goes on the inside of the fold. And I like to burnish that. Watch for the bump of the score line, again, inside of the fold. bury the bump. I know that many of you who have taken my classes for years and years say that to yourselves every time so that you remember, bury the bump. Okay, let's distribute these card bases now. We're gonna start with purple, then go yellow, pink, and blue. And then we're gonna start handing out more and more and more color. Let's begin with those longer strips. These are 5.5 inches tall, so the same height as the card. Go aqua, purple, yellow, pink. Next up, we'll choose the colored panels. Pink, aqua, purple, yellow. You can see that the colors are now being distributed. There are 4 smaller printed panels. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we have these colored strips. This will be the 4th missing color from the card. So yellow, pink, aqua, and purple. We have a piece of the crinkle paper square for each card. We have a sentiment tag shape. So you always bring me smiles on the top 2, and then happy birthday to you on the bottom 2. Then we have thinking of you and don't worry about your age, top and bottom respectively. Now this last card, I'm gonna pop it in with the yellow just because I did have this extra piece and it was sized to fit nicely onto the inside of a card, so I chose to put it in the yellow. Now reach into your class kit if you still have that sitting somewhere near, and I'm gonna find the smallest size envelopes. Take the small envelope and all of the stuff from that 4th pile with the aqua card base, and then the pink card base can go into another envelope, and that's gonna just help you stay organized when you do this assembly. This is the order that the cards appear in the instructions. And let's make this one together since all the other ones assemble the same exact way. The first thing I'm going to teach you is how to make that cute little miniature envelope, and to make that I'm going to grab my bookbinding glue and a needle tipped applicator and take this cute little piece. It's just a square, right? 2 3/4 inches, and bring it over to the plain side or the smooth side, and then fold up corner to opposite corner and just give it a little squeeze. Kind of a nice squeeze, a firm squeeze, because I want to identify the center, okay? Then I'm gonna rotate and then fold that up again and give it another squeeze. X is gonna mark the spot. So now I have both. I can just faintly see, and let me draw. You don't have to do this because you'll be able to see, but if we're filming, I want you to be able to see where those creases intersected. Now I'm gonna place it like a kerchief and bring that bottom corner up to that intersecting mark. And if you want to give it a really nice crease, it's not a bad idea. Then rotate and bring the other corner up to that mark. Give it a little crease. Now I'm gonna bring it so that those remaining points are facing up. This bottom one, I'm gonna bring it all the way up so that this point right here is level with that imaginary line that goes from this fold to that fold. You see that? All 3 of those things are lined up. And that's like a double, it gives you kind of a double area here. This is not hard, right? Now I'm gonna take this little flap and fold it back so that it lines up with the angle of those side folds. Then I'm going to reverse the direction of that fold so it tucks in and makes a little flap. Isn't that cute? It's the cutest little thing I've ever seen in my life. Okay, so then I'll take my bookbinding glue here and I'm going to just give it a little dab, and those layers of paper need an extra little love there. Okay, now I'm going to also add some glue along the edge here, that angle, bring it up and bring up that bottom flap, and just give that a second for the glue to bond. And now I have this adorable little envelope for the littlest love note or the littlest tag whatever you think you want to put in there, but I'm going to use it on this fun card. Now let's start working on the tag that will fit in that envelope. I'm going to take my new punch. This has 3 sides. We've got a R7 on this edge, an R4, and an R10. That stands for radius. So I'm going to do the littlest radius, this R4, and you can do this with any punch that you might have on hand. And I'm going to punch the corners of this tag, also of the mat for the tag. It's going to make the tag a little thicker. And while I'm at it, I thought it would be cute to also round the corners of the print on the R4 and the colored panel. Again, completely optional, but a nice touch. Okay, before I attach my little tag to this, I'm going to add some ribbon. So I'll take my pretty purple satin, I'm going to cut it at a nice little angle and not too long, and figure out the grain direction. The ribbon will want to fold more willingly in one direction over the other. And I'll staple that to the top of this tag. Then I can safely attach this to the yellow. So I did the ribbon attachment before I nested it so that the staple would be hidden between the layers of paper. This can slide nicely then into our cute little envelope. If you want to adhere it so it doesn't fall out, you can do that, but it is kind of cute. Someone could pick it up and use it as a bookmark, which is really sweet. The next thing I can do is nest the printed panel onto the pink panel in this case. Next, I'm going to attach this just anchoring strip to the right edge of the card. So this is the open edge, about 1/4 of an inch. So that's 2 cubes from the edge. And then I will add my nested panel. This one is going to be added 3 cubes from the edge. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Nice. This guy is going to sit kind of in the center of that strip, right? It looks pretty cool. So I will add adhesive to the back of my adorable little envelope and center that kind of in that space. I look for equal margin kind of bottom, right, and top. So nice. Now here, if you wanted to, you could go in pocket D and just take everything out of there if you want. But you could take any of these little scraps, like what about that one? Let me get rid of this, set all these aside. Bear with me. You might be doing the same thing. I could use this too, that would be really pretty. Maybe I'll use that inside one of the other cards. So I have this cute printed strip. I can, let me feel like it goes that way. I can add that here. And then add my inner sentiment. Top center, got room to sign your name down there, and you are good to go. So the other cards in the set go together the exact same way. You got a yellow one, you got an aqua one. This one's a happy birthday to you. Don't worry about your age, you get a new one every year. Yeah, I keep cashing mine in. They keep coming. Thinking of you, I mean, I've even sent thinking of you cards as birthday cards as well. But remember, if you don't like this inner sentiment, you can always do thank you so much, congratulations, with sincere sympathy, probably not appropriate, it's your day, happy anniversary, and so on. So these are plan B sentiments for you if you want to do something else other than the assigned sentiment. That wraps up card set A. Let's move on to B. Let's start by emptying those pockets. Pocket B, put all those fun little accordion folded pieces, and we'll make quick work of finding our bumps and burying them to make our card bases. 1, 2, 3, 4, one of each color. Yeah, it's amazing how this method of, for our card making has evolved through the years. At Club Scrap, we used to have all of that stuff pre-trimmed, and this is, I don't know. I like this so much better because it empowers you to make more card structures with stuff that you already own just by duplicating the instructions and subbing out your own paper. Okay, we've got yellow. then pink, purple, and aqua. There's a longer strip. We'll distribute pink, aqua, yellow, and purple. We have a printed panel, 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's also a narrow strip of color. This kind of helps round out the color on the card. So we're gonna go with that aqua and purple, pink, and yellow. Sentiments, congratulations. Every little thing's gonna be all right. Your friendship is a special gift and beyond grateful. For the inside, let your dreams blossom. Thinking of you. Generously given, happily accepted, deeply appreciated. I love that. And then thank you for everything. Each of these gets 2 of the accordion folded pieces. And just a disclaimer, you don't have to do this step. You can just completely leave it out, okay? If you're like, I know Beth here, Beth in my warehouse, she would probably skip making the lotus flower. And that's fine. You don't have to do it. It's just really fun. And probably easier than you might think. Okay, so just hang in there with me. Obviously, I'm putting these 3 card components into the little envelopes. Oh, if you want, you can pop in one of these white lotus charms for each of your cards as well. Let's get the front of that card done. It's just so super easy. You're going to love it. All right, I can go ahead and nest this congratulations right on here. Let's go ahead and take this narrow colored strip here. And I like to use bookbinding glue on these narrower pieces. And I'm going to attach this about a 1/4 of an inch up from the bottom edge of the pink strip. And I'm using my ruler to make sure it stays nice and level. Sometimes if it didn't cut perfectly, I'm going to shave off that little piece that goes past the edge just to neaten it up a little bit. You could do that with a trimmer as well. Then take off a piece of this yellow taffeta that's a little wider than the strip itself, or longer rather. And I'm going to grab a piece of tape. I'm going to center the ribbon over the strip and secure the tape on the other end. Then I'll just run it across just to add a little something something and secure the other end with tape as well. And then while I have it facing this direction, I will run some adhesive. And I'm going to go a 1/4 of an inch up from the bottom edge of this card. That's 2 cubes on the ruler, or the first solid line. Okay, then I can add my sentiments. Congratulations. And this sweet little thing is going to slide under the strip. So I'll add a little glue to my lotus flower and kind of shove it down in there. And because I use bookbinding glue, it's already quite secure. Sweet. Now in my original sample, I actually ran that strip through a texture folder. It does add a little bit, but that's completely optional. You know, like everything is optional. And I thought it added a little bit, but this looks very beautiful as well. Got a lot going on with this card, so I don't want to add more complications to your life. Now this is a tag shape. We normally don't do a tag shape on the inside of the card, but if you wanted to sort of highlight that a little bit, you could take a slot punch, for example, and maybe just trim off a little piece of this purple ribbon, shove it through the slot that you made, and just wrap it around with almost nothing extending past the edge, because the tag is pretty large and we don't have a lot of room to work with on the inside of the card. I like to attach the tag before I add the lotus flower so that I can get this position nicely centered. So I'm looking at bottom, right, top. See, you could stop right there. No worries about making this fun little thing. Okay, the 2 pieces that we have left are the accordion folded pieces. Now I'm going to close them completely, take scissors, and I'm just gonna make a little point on this. Remember when you were little, you made snowflakes? At least I remember making snowflakes when I was little. And if you don't, you need to do that. You need to make some snowflakes. So I'm just cutting a little point, like a picket fence sort of a look. And then I'm going to do the same thing on one end of the other strip. And I have all these little butterfly wings that came off, and those you can get rid of. Now, do you know the difference between a mountain and a valley? So this is a valley fold right here. It's like goes on down like a V. This is a mountain fold. So valley, mountain, valley, mountain, valley, mountain, valley, mountain, valley. This one starts with the first one started with a valley. The second one starts with a mountain. I want you to situate them just like this. So a mountain is first here. A valley is first on the second one. If it's not right, all you have to do is just flip it over and it will be. So mountain first here, valley first there. Take scissors, and I'm going to cut a slit halfway up the mountain. Okay, halfway up the mountain. Halfway up the mountain. Halfway up the mountain. Okay, now here I have a valley. I'm going to make a slit halfway down the valley. So I'm just going to flip this over and go halfway down the valley. Well, now it's a mountain. I guess I'm going down the mountain on this way. Maybe that's how I should teach it. If you look again, you've got this slit here and a slit here. I'm going to insert this slit into the other one. Okay, so that's been inserted. Then I'm going to insert the next one, the next one, and the last one, so that those interlocking slits. Okay, now I've got one piece with these every others, and because we kind of paid attention to those folds, now all I have to do is kind of separate the other folds like so. This one naturally wants to go that way. And it sort of folded itself into this little intertwined piece of joy. I'm going to try to balance out those bottoms so that they're as level as possible. And I'm going to spot it right in this card and with the equal margin left and right, and the edge near the top fold of the card. It has to be able to close, right? All that's left to do is take bookbinding glue and add it to each one of these little points. And it doesn't matter that they're not perfectly, like, see how they're not all lined up? That's totally okay. I mean, I bet you thought you never hear me say that. It's totally okay if they're not lined up. Give that a little pressure. Flip the card over and open. And you'll need to do the same thing on the other side. And then close the card over that again. All right. There it is. Let your dreams blossom. Isn't that the funnest thing ever? I love that so much. Okay, that is card set B. I'll show you the others in the set. Every little thing's going to be all right. Oh, I added a bow. I forgot to add the bow to this. You get the idea. All I do, I'm sorry about that. You can just tie something onto it, just without a bow, or you can add a bow. And I did that to sort of balance. It had that cute little lotus on the left, and so I tied a bow onto the stretched ribbon. I like that kind of illusion. Okay, trim your tails. There you go. You have a sweet little card there. All right, so that was a reminder that I did add a bow. And let's see, we've got your friendship is a special gift, generously given, happily accepted, deeply appreciated. And we have Beyond Grateful. This time I used the other ribbon because the strip was yellow and I wanted some contrast there. That is the same exact colored paper. Looks great too. So if one of those things did not work out, you can take a piece of Xerox paper, copy paper, and make make a little lotus. You can practice on that. I certainly did when I was first learning how to do it. I did a couple of rounds, but I think I've got it boiled down to a pretty simple process. Okay, let's move on to card set C, our final card, which is a telescoping card. Super fun. Let's empty pocket C. We have a lot in there, but this goes together so easily. You are going to love it. I'm going to sort out all my fun little panels and strips and things. I got sentiments here, larger prints, narrower prints, skinny strips, medium-sized strips, wide strips. Whew, lots of fun stuff. Got these bigger panels. Easy card. We've already set ourselves up for success because of the way we did the scoring. Remember when we flipped and scored? That helps us be successful. Now I'm not going to fold all these. I'm just going to distribute them. We'll go yellow, aqua, and pink, and purple. Let's distribute one large printed panel to each card base, one smaller printed panel to each card base. We have these larger panels. Let's go aqua, pink, purple, yellow. We have slightly narrower panels, purple, yellow, aqua, pink. We have these narrow strips, pink, purple, yellow, aqua. Do you see the distribution happening here? Then, today is your birthday, sharing in your sorrow. And today is your birthday. I have those switched around. Let's see, for the inside, I'm just reminding you. And even though we can't be together, may peace cradle your heart and hold it gently. And I'm just reminding you. I'll carefully load this right in here. It should fit. And I'm just not going to take the time to fold because I will show you this on our first card. So load all cards 2, 3, and 4 into your A7 envelope, which is in your kit. At least it should be. And our telescoping card goes together in a jiff. We'll start out with the ribbon trick here. I'm going to take some of this really beautiful ribbon. In fact, I'm going to do one of the little tricks that I did on my second card because it was so pretty. I'm taking one length of this beautiful aqua and one length of the purple, both a little wider than the card base itself. Then I'm going to bend this one in half and I'll add it to this side of the card, maybe so that it's a little over halfway. Turn the card over and tape those ends. Then flip the card back over, fold this one, first threading it through the loop of your first ribbon, the purple, support it from the left edge and kind of tug, and then wrap this one around to the back. That way you can have a pretty ribbon on your card, but it doesn't have this huge knot from a bow. I will nest this onto the panel. And let's get our card base folded. So here's our first bump. I'm going to bury it. Always follow that. And then I'm going to flip the card over to find my next bump and fold and flip again. So I'm kind of accordion folding, aren't I? But I'm creating like this stacked effect. And that's again why I'm calling this a telescoping card, because of the way it sort of expands. All right, easy, easy, easy here. I'm going to use my bookbinding glue to attach the pink strip. And that's going to go on the most narrow fold pleat at the front. Make sure that when you start adding these next panels, it scooted over a little bit, that the card opens to the left like it should, like it feels like it should. I have made a couple of errors in attaching my panels that way, so I've had it backwards. This larger printed panel goes in this big fold here on my left, okay? It should fit that whole scored area. And then the medium-sized colored panel goes in this spot on to the right of that center fold or center pleat. Then you have this narrow strip, and that should cover the reveal perfectly. Doesn't it look nice? I love that. If it feels like I'm rushing, it's because my phone camera just told me that I'm low on battery. So I don't want to finish, I don't want to be halfway through and have my camera die and then have to redo all of this. Okay, so I think our reveal here looks like it's gonna be, is it 7/8 of an inch from the edge and from the bottom and from the top. That's my spot, 7/8, 7 cubes. Now, we only want to put adhesive in the spot where that pink strip is. So I'm gonna put my ruler at that 7/8 mark, flip it over top to bottom, and I'm gonna just aim my adhesive level with that narrow strip. Bring it back and attach. Cool, right? So now this card is gonna look so beautiful. Now this should be an inch in from the right edge, the top edge, and the bottom. And be careful here because you don't want this to be too far over that. The inner sentiment will be revealed when the card is closed. If you do it an inch from the top, the bottom, and the right, it won't be visible. It'll be perfect. So here I am again, having you do things so that they line up perfectly. Oh, isn't that nice? So beautiful and done. I'll show you the others in this set. This is the first birthday one. I just did 2 of the aqua. Oh, and I used some bookbinding glue to add the tiny, tiny, tiny little, sweetest little tassel ever. So I just put glue on it and put it right here, okay? Totally up to you wherever you want it. It's so little and tiny, but cute as all heck, okay? Check that out, so adorable. Here I just put the tassel at the bottom and a crisscross of ribbon. So let creativity be your muse there. These are just some ideas and you don't really have to do any of them because it's your own darn card. All right, that's what I've got for you today. I hope you learned some fun techniques. I hope you'll give that exploding lotus flower a try. It's so much fun to make and so rewarding too, and a nice surprise for whoever opens that card on their special day. So you're watching this on YouTube. Before you leave, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Subscribe to our channel, it's totally free. And you'll get a notification when we offer up something new for you, which is pretty regularly. And if you're not already a member of Club Scrap, come and join us. We'd love to have you be a part of our monthly workshops. Whether you want to make pages or cards or both, we are here for you to help you create efficiently and help you make things you'll be proud to give away. I look forward to seeing you in class again soon.